So I use Adobe Illustrator. So everything that I draw, I start there. So Adobe Illustrator is a vectoring program. Typically in the whole pin making process, a lot of times, people will have the idea, draw it on like a napkin, and then take a picture of it and figure out how to make it into a vector, which is like presentable. It's like presentable file to the manufacturer to translate into their proof. So you can approve it and then they can make it because it needs to be clean, right? Like I've tried guiding a few people who are interested in pin making. It's like, think of like a pin artwork as like a coloring book. Like the lines need to meet, like, and colors need to be isolated. So a vectoring program kind of helps with that. So again, like I mentioned earlier, like I kind of wanted to skip the drawing, scanning, and cleanup section. So I start straight in Illustrator, and then cool. I just, I'm on just a regular laptop and I just use a mouse and just click around. So with Illustrator, the way it works is that you draw lines and stuff, and there's these things called handles, I guess. So you adjust the line. So a handle can make like curves more round or straight or whatever. So I just use that to kind of draw. So instead of like a pencil where you're drawing a line or whatever, I basically draw one line and then readjust it to the shape that I want it. So it looks very simple, but at the same time, I guess like the amount of time I'm spending in Illustrator to draw the whole thing is probably the same amount of time as me just drawing on a piece of paper and scanning and all that. So I think it's just where I've decided to allocate my time. So I start there, and then once the Illustrator work is done, like I've learned to assign colors to what I want. So basically I have a Pantone book. That's what a lot of makers use to make sure that they're choosing the right colors, because colors change when they're under different lights, or like our eyes, or how our eyes perceive it, or like how the computer screen perceives it. So a PMS book, a Pantone book, is the best and most accurate way. And since I was like generating so many designs, I just ended up investing in it, because those things are expensive and they're flimsy, and it's annoying because you paid so much money, but it's worth it.
Don't they come out with one every year?
I think so. It's like either every year, like every other year, and you're like, there goes another couple $100 for colors. Just to identify colors of a rainbow. Like it's rough, but I mean, it's well worth it if you're like really going into making a lot of pins and a lot of designs, or like you want to use a lot of colors.
Definitely.
So yeah, after that, I just send it off to the manufacturer. The manufacturer is someone I just had kind of like looked up and just researched on my own. And then it's just the waiting process after that, after I prove it. And then for the outreach part, I've tried Kickstarter. I've failed miserably with that. I also have like, I guess, an anxiety of like not being able to deliver. It's like, I realized that I don't like the idea of not knowing how the product's going to end up before I promise or send it to someone. So I don't think I'm going to go down the Kickstarter route anymore. So it's literally just going to be me reinvesting my profits back into new designs. I'm just more comfortable that way, because I mean, it's unfortunate. I'm sure people have heard, but pin making is a very manual process, and it's just hard to like always blame the manufacturer, because already like you're doing it overseas, and like they don't get paid as much, and they're polishing by hand. So if there's a lot more orders for that factory, like it's kind of out of their control if they're trying to push out a lot of designs, and you get a lot of flaws. And I think with a Kickstarter, like what if you get a whole bunch that are messed up, your customer's gonna have to wait even longer. And like, it just makes me anxious, and I just don't want to deliver that. So, yeah, so I just think of a design, put it in, if I think it's going to sell, and then just hope for the best. And I think like the biggest challenge I've had, so I have like two major segments of my work. It's like national park stuff and more like gaming, animation, video game stuff. I noticed that for like the first pin I made was like a potion pin, and that's towards the gaming category. And I noticed it wasn't really selling. People liked it, but it just wasn't selling. And then it wasn't until I actually gone to the convention, like the anime convention circuit, which I only did one show, but it like did great. So I saw
that picture. It's a nice booth.
Yeah. So, thank you. So that was like the first like 3-day event, like convention I actually did. It was a blast, met like awesome people. And I was like ready for more, and then everything shut down. So I was like, Okay, so that kind of at least helped me gauge like, okay, I know my audience is there. It's just that like they're just in a different environment that I have to get to.
Mhm.
And which is why I've kind of like held back on releasing more like potion stuff, just because it's really hard for me to sell them. So that's kind of like my start to finish ish.